The Wounded Knee Massacre of 1890 was one of the most tragic and symbolic events in United States history, representing the violent conclusion of decades of conflict between the U.S. government and Native American nations and marking the effective end of the Indian Wars. By the late 19th century, the Lakota Sioux, once a powerful people of the Great Plains, had been systematically defeated, displaced, and confined to reservations through a series of broken treaties, military campaigns, and government policies aimed at assimilation and land acquisition. The destruction of the buffalo herds upon which the Lakota economy and culture depended led to widespread starvation and despair, while corrupt reservation systems often withheld food and supplies promised by the government. In this context of suffering and loss, the ghost dance movement emerged in the late 1880s as a spiritual and cultural response to oppression. Founded by the Paiute prophet Wovoka, the movement taught that through ritual dances and moral renewal, Native Americans would be reunited with their ancestors, regain their lands, and see the disappearance of white settlers. Although the ghost dance was fundamentally peaceful and spiritual in nature, U.S. officials and settlers misinterpreted it as a sign of imminent rebellion, fueling fear and paranoia. This fear intensified with the arrest and killing of Sitting Bull, a respected Lakota leader, on December 15, 1890, during an attempted arrest by Indian police, an event that further destabilized the region and spread panic among Lakota bands. In the aftermath, a group of Miniconjou Lakota, led by Chief Bigfoot, who was already seriously ill with pneumonia, attempted to travel toward the Pine Ridge Reservation in hopes of finding safety and protection, but they were intercepted by the U.S. Army's 7th Cavalry, a unit still haunted by its defeat at the Battle of Little Bighorn years earlier. The Lakota were escorted to a campsite near Wounded Knee Creek in South Dakota and surrounded by soldiers armed with rifles and Hotchkiss rapid-fire cannons positioned on the surrounding hills, creating an atmosphere of extreme tension and imbalance of power. On the morning of December 29, 1890, the soldiers ordered the Lakota to surrender their weapons. While most complied, misunderstandings, fear, and cultural differences escalated the situation. During the disarmament process, a struggle broke out over a rifle and a single shot was fired, though its origin remains uncertain. Almost immediately, the soldiers opened fire indiscriminately into the camp, unleashing devastating violence. Men were shot at close range, women and children were gunned down as they attempted to flee, and many were chased across the snow-covered plains and killed far from the original campsite. The Hotchkiss cannons tore through teepees and bodies alike, turning the camp into a scene of unimaginable carnage. By the end of the massacre, an estimated 250 to 300 Lakota lay dead, the majority of them women, children, and elderly people, while 25 soldiers were killed, some likely as a result of friendly fire amid the chaos. The survivors were left wounded and traumatized in freezing conditions, and many bodies were later found frozen in the snow. Although the massacre provoked outrage among some journalists and observers at the time, the U.S. government largely portrayed the event as a battle, minimizing the responsibility of the Army and reinforcing narratives that justified westward expansion. In a deeply controversial decision, several soldiers involved were awarded the Medal of Honor, a fact that continues to spark debate and calls for revocation. The Wounded Knee Massacre stands today as a powerful symbol of the brutality of U.S. policies toward Indigenous peoples, the suppression of Native American cultures and spiritual practices, and the devastating human cost of colonial expansion, while also marking the definitive collapse of organized Native American armed resistance in the United States and leaving a legacy of trauma and injustice that endures in Native communities to this day.